Well, one, I don't analyze it in that way. I leave it to other people on the outside. You can analyze it. They wrote a book called Girl in the Hairy Paw, which tried to portray King Kong in many psychological different phases. And you can read anything. It's like an ink blot. I think a film is like an ink blot. It tells you more about the person who's watching it than it does about the film itself. Marion Cooper always says that he just set out to make a damn good piece of entertainment. And that's what we set out, to entertain the public in a positive way. And I'm grateful that we have, when I go to these various conventions that I tried to illustrate in the book, a family of 3 generations will come up for signature on their stills or what have you, and say that our films made their childhood. Because Charles and I were the only producing company that made pictures of that nature. I can't think of any other one that did. Some people tried to copy it afterward. And then, of course, we destroyed Washington, we destroyed uh, Coney Island, I destroyed Rome, made new ruins among the old. And it got tiresome, so I wanted to hop onto a new idea in which to use stop motion photography. And of course, Sinbad legend came to mind. And we developed 3 Sinbad pictures. And the next step, of course, was Greek mythology. Because when I grew up, we had Maria Montez and John Hall and Sabu making Arabian Night stories. They would talk about the Cyclops, they would talk about the rock, but you never saw it on the screen. So I wanted to put the storybook concept on the screen, and I think we succeeded in doing that. I think the most complete, when you're making low budget pictures, you always have to compromise. And unfortunately, we had to compromise on many of our projects. But I think Jason is the most complete. Well, I think it tells what we wanted to tell in a very reliable way. They're even using the film in schools now to teach Greek mythology, even though we had to modify Greek mythology in order to make a palatable film. It was one of the most complicated. It took the most time. One tries to avoid time-consuming shots like dollying and moving the camera because we were making pictures on a low budget, and every minute counts. So, and every ounce of dollar counts. And we tried to put that on the screen, and I think we succeeded. The others get jealous if I have a favorite character. I like the complicated ones. I like the Hydra, the skeletons, 7 skeletons fighting 3 men. They're a challenge. I like Medusa. I think that's one of the highlights. I still find a soft spot in my heart for the first scenes I did in Mighty Joe Young of Joe pushing over the lion's cage. I think that's one of the highlights of my career. Well, it all worked out the way I had imagined it. I did it all in 3 days as a complete sequence, and then it was edited by the editor, the film editor, into cutting close-ups of the live actors in. But the original scene was all shot in 3 days as one unit. A stop-motion lion that leaped out of the cage, that was the only time the stop-motion lion was used, outside of in the nightclub when they jumped on Joe's back. Obi was setting up the next shot and getting it prepared so that we could keep a continuity. But I did most of the shots. And we had Buzz Gibson came back with his brother, and he stayed for about 5 weeks, I suppose, but they never used any of his film. I don't know what, he complained the models were too small, but we did that for a reason. He wasn't a vicious creature, and we tried to get sympathy for our demonic characters that people are not too familiar with. But in order to get sympathy for him, he was a misplaced person. That's why I like to call them creatures and not monsters. What else could you do? In Rome, he had to get on top of the Colosseum. In New York, he had to get on top of the Empire State Building.